Hello, everyone. I am trying out a new way to lay out the camera. So if it looks like it's on the side, just kind of let me know because I really feel. Oh, okay. I think we're on the right side up. All right, let me start that over. All right, so welcome everyone. This is day 2 of Straight Social Media Strategies. So looks like I'm on the right side of the camera now, and so I'm going to begin it. So one of the most powerful ways to stand out on social media is using your story. And sometimes when I tell people this, they're more so like, "Oh yeah, I'm not important. This is just what I do. This is just something that I do." And I think we kind of get into the space where we just think that everybody knows how to do what we do. And that is not the truth at all. And so, even if somebody does do something that is similar to you, that does not automatically mean that they are going to do it the exact way that you do it. And so, this is how you stand out, whether you are starting a podcast, whether you are starting a business, or you want to just, sell something as a hobby. So, I'm going to dive into a little bit about the storytelling. If you would like to, oh, greetings, sis, Candle Close Academy. Yes. If you're a sister, let me know because I want to make sure that I'm addressing everyone correctly. So yeah, so we're gonna go into what my story is and how I structure my story, and then just some different tips on how you can develop your story. And then I'm also gonna end with what you should avoid sharing inside your story because I know that privacy can be an issue for some people. So I'm gonna go over that. But yes, if you think that this can benefit anyone, share it with a friend, so that way they can get this goodness as well. Okay, so first thing, when it comes to sharing your story on social media, or wherever it is, it's important that you're kind of being succinct about it and kind of knowing like when you can give the long version of your story and when you can give a short version of your story. And so typically on social media, when it comes to like a reel, or a social media post, it's good to kind of keep it as concise as possible because you don't want to lose people when you are developing your story. But you may also need to create what we call a media bio. So say you're getting interviewed on a podcast or on a news segment, for TV, you have to know like what are the best elements to bring into your story so that way people can be like, oh, I remember who that person is. And I'm so sorry, brother. Sorry, brother. Greetings, brother. Let me just start that over again. So, yes, I'm just going to put some comments up on the screen so everyone can say hello. Sorry about that. So yes, when you are having a story, like whether that's on TV or on social media, it's important to have these core elements. So make sure you write this down. The element would be who you are because that kind of connects you to other people. So say like if you're a journalist, which is what I started as, or just whatever your profession is or how you started, that's kind of a good piece to start with. And then you want to present a problem that you ran into. So say your business is making candles, then you might want to talk about maybe how some candles that you used to buy in stores had like toxic chemicals in them, and you were just wondering how you could make your house smell nice, without harming the environment or without harming your skin or things like that. So that's like presenting the problem. And then you also want to talk about the pivotal moment. Some people may remember it as a date or like a day, or they may just remember it as like a core memory that happened to them on some day. It's not necessarily necessary for you to be like, okay, on January 12th, 1999 was when I had this like moment that, you know, changed my life forever. But as long as you can think of a pivotal moment where you were just like, okay, this is the change that I'm making, then your audience can follow along and see how and why you decided to bring a product or a service into the mix. And so that's a good thing to know. Like, once I was able to come to this realization, this was when I was able to start this particular thing. So that is something that you can include in your story. And it's also important to be as descriptive as possible because we weren't there when you went through your story. So it's good if you can find different ways to describe it. And then also, like when it comes to social media, it's a good idea to be able to visualize it. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow, Lord willing, about like how to visually tell your story in a way where you can like bring it to life. But it's very important to bring your story to life. So today is also about just kind of putting the story together. So that's what we're going to cover. And so I'm going to begin with my story. If anybody has any questions, let me know. Okay. So, how I started being a social media strategist, it was actually like a gradual process, but I remember, of course, having a background in journalism. That's what I went to college for. And so that was where I really learned like how to use images like B-roll and videos as well, to be able to like promote a story and like tell a story, right? Because sometimes when we talk to each other, whether that's our friends or our families, about like our stories, like, you know, they have us right there like to clarify something. But if someone's watching you on social media, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not going to DM you and be like, oh, so can you like clarify this part of the story? They don't have time for that. So it's really important, like in 30 seconds, to be able to describe like what your story is, as well as also have compelling images and videos, maybe from your past, maybe from like your experiences, like with your family and things like that, and then incorporate that into your story and like who you work with now. So this is particularly for business owners, and people that want to develop a personal brand. This information probably is going to be best served for you, because somebody that greetings is a Tamara, somebody that, you know, comes on social media and like create social media like, and they're just kind of using it like just to update their friends and family, this information probably isn't good for them. But this is more so for people that's looking to make an impact, that is looking to be considered as a thought leader. So it's really important that people can tie your story back to you. So back to my story. I once I did journalism, I realized that like a lot of like the hard news was like very like aggressive in nature, and it wasn't something that I wanted to see myself consistently doing. And not only that, it was like super competitive as well to become a reporter. But like once I kept hearing like, you know, certain news about, you know, certain people dying and like, you know, politics, and just like the nature of the news. That's why I don't really watch the news myself anymore. But I realized more so I wanted to still keep that storytelling component, but I wanted to do it in a different way. So the opportunity came across for me in my church. And so basically, they were looking for help to develop the social media team. And so I used what I know and or what I learned by seeing like what other people did and seeing like how I can apply it for my church. And so I was able to promote like upcoming services, as well as like live streams, or just different events or seminars that we were having. So I just found creative ways to do that. And then, of course, like I invested in myself in terms of learning how to, you know, operate social media in the best way, like for organizations or businesses and things like that. And then I developed my own strategy. And so that's what I teach my clients now based upon my experience with promoting different ideals and things like that. For me, like even my own personal social media use, it wasn't that great. Like I was just trying different things, like doing fashion and photos and things like that. And then I would notice like I wouldn't get that many likes. And also, I had a private account at the time. So I wasn't really positioned in a way to actually grow on social media. It was more so kind of like trying to look cool, you know, like trying to have a nice outfit, trying to take selfies and really see what works. And like I would kind of get likes in the low, like double digits. It would only be like 11 likes or around 14 likes. And then I started noticing like when I would take photos with my friends, you know, more people, they know more people, more friends, me. And so then I would get even more likes. And I was like, well, this isn't sustainable. Like, obviously, you don't want to like do certain things like just to get noticed on social media. But I think a lot of us kind of went through that phase when we first got started. So anyway, like once I started creating content like for church and really started enjoying it and things like that. And just seeing like people engage in the comments, being able to give them the resources that they needed, that really lit me up because I didn't want people to be in the dark about like what was going on in the church. I wanted them to see, how we did church and see like the power of God moving through our pastor, as well as like just how people feel once they're in the services and baptisms and things like that. So once that happened, I really learned, okay, this is what is actually working, keeping people informed, asking them questions, and also just asking them like, what did they want to see on the platform as well. Then I started branching off into what I do now with wellness businesses. So around 2020 was when I started working with a luxury travel company, and that was really fun for me, just learning like how to navigate travel during that time. We also know like what year 2020 was and how significant that was, and just being able to like kind of transform people in a way where like you can still travel, it's still safe to travel, you just have to use like take different precautions and things like that. And like here's what you can learn about these different like countries, and like this is why you should go to this country. So that was really fun for me. And then I also branched off into helping other wellness businesses. So I work with Sister Tamara, who's the owner of Perfect Blends. And so I actually started taking different videos of the food. She would take videos of the food, photos and stuff. And then I would really hone in on like writing captions that make people want to purchase her products, her sauces and spices and things like that. So this is what I do now. I teach wellness entrepreneurs how to promote their products and services on social media, using video and other creative tactics. And we also pair it with spiritual music, because just because we're in holiness doesn't mean that we have to have boring content. Like we can add color and warmth, and emotion even to our post to connect with our audience. So that is my story. I've been featured on different podcasts as well, such as the No Matter Bitcast, as well as the Gold Digger podcast. So you kind of now have a sense of like who I am, where my beginnings started. Sometimes if I was to say this story again, you might hear like how many years I've been doing social media marketing. So it just kind of depends on what the situation is and what it calls for. And again, how much time you have. So maybe like if you only have like, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes on like a news segment, I may not be able to be that long-winded, but I want to make sure I hit certain core points. So I'm actually going to go into that too. Let me see the comment here. I'm trying to share journey as a day trader, just don't know how to promote. Okay, so yeah, I will address this later in the live stream, so hold that thought. And this, oh, thank you, Sister Tamaris. I'm going to leave that up for a little bit. Okay, so now that I have shared my story, here are the core elements that I would say is important to have inside of your own story is who you are. And this is just me going over it again, who you are, the pivotal moment where like, whatever transformation happened, that's really important. And the part before that is the problem. And then you also want to add as well, what do you do now? So, you shared your story, what's in it for your audience. That is so important because sometimes, we're on social media, we may see people be like, oh, this is what I did with my day. I traveled here. It was so nice. Oh, look at the food, look at the shops, which is cool. It's nice for us sometimes to see content like that. But if you're really trying to make an impact and you want people to, be interested in your business, you want people to be excited about the products and services that you have to know how to tell stories. So this is how you make your story exactly relevant, is knowing like who your audience is and what problems they have, because chances are the product and service that you created, you are kind of like ahead of that person that is looking at your content. So they have a problem and you have already overcame that problem with your product and your service. So it's important that you position your product and your service as such. And you want to make sure that you're letting your audience know like, hey, I also went through this, years ago. So that's why when you get this product or when you get this service, you're going to essentially be saving time rather than you trying to hunt and peck on YouTube, trying to see, oh man, like, how do I do this? How do I put this all together? You've already put everything together in your product and your service. So it's important that like you position it in a way where people be like, okay, this actually makes sense. This product or this service is going to solve the issue that I've been having. So that's how you make it relevant. When it comes to like even writing your own like captions and things like that, at the end, you always want to make sure that the person that's reading your post understands what's in it for them. So if that makes sense, let me know by, dropping a comment below as well, because I want to make sure that this all makes sense. Sometimes when it comes to your story too, it's important to tie in a location. So say if you're at a local event, it might be good to see if you have any connection to that town or that location. So that way you can like also show people like, hey, like I have grown up here, or, I know what goes into this city as well. To be able to tie it to your product. I mean, don't try to force it, obviously, but if it is part of your story, sometimes you may have to like put your location in as well. I wouldn't say do that for everything though. Let's see what else. Also, so once you start writing out your story, you want to be able to, or you have the option to use Chat GPT. So I know I haven't been talking about Chat GPT that much on my channel. I will, Lord willing, but Chat GPT is definitely a good way like for you to like make sure that like your sentences are grammatically correct, that the flow makes sense. So sometimes I'll put something in Chat GPT and I'll be like, okay, what do you think about this? Whether that's a caption or like, just something that I put in it, and it'll say, this does make sense, or, this is a good start, but here's how you could say it for a better flow. And then you can tweak it. And then even after that, I would hope that you would know how you talk normally, and like, what your language, what your mannerisms is, you could also add that in as well. Sometimes I don't even take everything that Chat GPT gives me because I don't want to sound like a robot. So I think it's a matter of learning like what that balance is. But I definitely use it to help me like make sure that I'm communicating effectively. So that is something that you can use as well. And if you don't like the first response, you can also ask it to basically regenerate the response again, but using a particular tone that is more closely aligned like to your content and to how you speak. So that has been something that has helped me as well. And even if you kind of don't know which story to hone in, or you don't know like which transformational moment in your life will best align with your business, you can literally just put in some transformational moments, like, something that changed within you that made you wanted to do this work. Was it something that happened when you were working with a client? Was it something that happened when, someone came and told you like the impact of your product or your service on their life, on their family? And, you might have cried, they might have cried. Those are pretty good moments. And also sometimes when I'm looking at like podcasts online and things like that, sometimes people will say like, you don't, and these are experts, not just, people, but experts. They will say like, you don't have to have like such a awful story. Like, you didn't have any money, or, you were in a dark alley and, you just kind of had a moment there. Like it doesn't always have to be something that's so bad. It can just be like a problem that you faced, and then just being able to do something better. Like that happens to me, very often in my life, where it's just like, okay, I was doing this, XYZ this way. And then, something happened where it's just like, now my life is so much easier because I discovered this product, or I discovered a different way to do something that aligns more with my life. Sometimes it's just little things like that. But I would definitely say don't be afraid to be personal. Like we don't want to be on here like giving our personal details, like our address, or like, exposing somebody and like saying their, their name and stuff, like their real name, like unless like they give you permission. But I think what I'm trying to say is like there has to be relatable elements within your story where your potential customer or client can actually see themselves using your product or using your service, because they recognize that you've actually gone through that same problem or a similar problem. Or maybe you have like a customer or client that had that similar problem, and this was the transformation that your product or your service gave to them. So just kind of jot some things down while I'm talking. Also, you can go back through this video as well and just kind of pinpoint, like, what am I trying to say? You can pinpoint like different things like having to do with what I said and then how that relates to your story so you can put your story together. So, this shouldn't take like a 2-week process or anything like that. Just challenge yourself to see if you can even write something today and then maybe finalize it by Friday. Okay. All right. So I did ChatGPT, talked about my story. Okay. So what to avoid sharing? So I already mentioned like your address, something not to share. Does anybody want to put in the comment section like something that like they are thinking of putting in their story, but they think it might be too personal? And you can just like use like the concept. So not exactly your story, but maybe just like say for example, a concept would be my address. Like I don't want to share that. But if anybody wants to put in like the comment section and ask that, then I can just kind of go through that because I think I kind of already mentioned like stuff that you don't want to really share. I could also say too, like you don't want to share things that are like overly negative. Like an example that I have it's not too close to this topic, but I think sometimes like when say somebody took a break like from YouTube or they took a break or something like that, or say they like had mistakes like in their caption and stuff. And I feel like sometimes we can be a little too honest where we could just be like, oh yeah, like I'm so sorry. I just been going through this, and this. And like, my life is horrible. And that's why I haven't been on YouTube. I mean, like having that tone, you kind of still want to have a positive, like upbeat, like even if you did go through a lot, like just try to make sure that whatever you're talking about can actually be applied like to your audience where they can actually see like that you grew from something and was able to prosper. So I think I would say that just try not to go too deep like into what was negative. But I will say like, different problems that we've, faced throughout our lives that can also bring people together as well. So you kind of just have to like test and like I said, maybe write it out first and see like if that's something that you're comfortable having out in the public. Because sometimes, even if you do delete a video or something like that, people can still screenshot or they can still screen record, even before you're done. That's something that like, high profile people deal with, but maybe it might happen to you. So I think it's important to know like at least have a plan going in like what you want to say, and try to also focus on like if you say something like that you're comfortable with that being public knowledge. So that's what I would say about that. So yes, the brother from Candle Close Academy says so basically you want to be able to relate with viewers or consumers. Yes. And it's not always about like trying to relate to them because you want them to purchase something from you. Sometimes it's just so you can grow your community, right? Because not everybody that's going to be following you or being subscribed to you is going to purchase something from you, but they may value you as a thought leader. So it's really nice sometimes like just being able to follow somebody and like they're not pressuring me to buy anything. But it's just more so about like that connection. What can I learn from them? What can they learn from me? So stories definitely do connect. Stories help like when you're trying to explain something that's might be super complex to people, because again, just because you know how to do it doesn't mean somebody else knows how to do it. So sometimes you may have to be like, for example, blah 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 blah, so that way they understand like what's going on and what you're trying to say. Also, you know, giving context is really important too. So that's why I said kind of starting with like who you are, and things like that to make it relevant. So that way they can follow it. And we know a story has a beginning, a middle, and the end. So don't leave people hanging out there. Like if you say like what the problem was and what you went through and stuff, make sure there's like an ending. We want to know what happened at the end, pretty much, and what you're doing now. Greetings. Greetings, greetings, everybody. Okay, so I will hang on for a couple of minutes. Let me make sure that I respond to this. So it says, I'm trying to share journey as a day trader, just don't know how to promote. Okay, so with this, I don't typically help people in finances, but I can say like just generally, like when it comes to like promoting something, it's kind of like you want to show behind the scenes. So that's a popular piece of content that I see online that I have created myself. So like maybe that looks like you being on your computer and just kind of getting like some video footage of that. I usually say like 5 to 10 seconds, just have the camera sit there and just kind of film you while you're doing that. Maybe also kind of, if you can, do screen recording of like you actually doing the sorry, I'm not well versed in finances, but like the reports and things like that, that can be a nice piece as well, as long as it's not like personal information. There's also like different devices that you can use out there in like a video editor where you can like blur out personal information, but still kind of give people that image, and it puts people in that mindset of, oh, like, okay, this is finances. So I hope that makes sense. And like whatever you want them to know about it, like again, that's really going to take like storytelling, like this is how I start my day. Maybe I have breakfast, and then I jump on my computer, and then I do this and this, and my goal is to do this and this. And then how you finish off your day, and just kind of, and it doesn't have to be like just your business. So I want to get people out of that too. Like, you just because you created a product or a service doesn't mean your entire social media has to just reflect your business. Like, you do want to be niched, but you also want to show like human elements as well, right? Otherwise we would be like Chat GPT, where we just kind of look like a computer. So we don't want to do that. We kind of want to also show like, even though we might be in different industries, we kind of all have that unifying theme of needing to eat, or needing to get in our car and go somewhere else and just go throughout our day. So just make it interesting, have fun with it. And yeah, I hope that helps. Does anybody have any other questions, comments, concerns? I'll just talk a little bit about tomorrow. So yeah, like if you're interested in promoting yourself and promoting like your products or services, that's going to be more hands-on tomorrow. So that's about like the visual ways to do it. So we're gonna have fun with that class, Lord willing. And I'll be here around 12 p.m. Eastern again tomorrow, Lord willing. So that kind of goes into like reels, like making videos and things like that. And also like um yeah, pretty much just videos. That's a big component of it, I would say, and just photos, because photos help as well too. It's just that videos are kind of really important now because they take a lot of like content or real estate on the platforms like TikTok and on Instagram, and even of course on YouTube. Like that's what we started with. Okay, so this is another question. So it shouldn't be just focused on the specific business. Yeah, so what I teach my clients is like you can kind of be a little bit more free verse in your stories. So like Instagram stories or Facebook stories, TikTok has stories now as well. That's kind of where you can show your day-to-day life, like things that you're learning, maybe a podcast you're listening to, or even if you're hanging out with your friends. I usually say like that is kind of like a nice space, like to kind of be free. But I think when it comes to like your feed, like it's really important that everything in a way kind of ties back to your business. I also have taught my clients as well, like how to navigate like when a big social movement is happening that you want to get behind. Again, don't force it if that's not something that you're into, but I also understand that we are human. So like, we may post like when a celebrity dies, like somebody that really influenced us, or maybe somebody that we know ourselves that might have passed away. So you can make a post about that. You don't have to tie that back to your business. But I think generally it's important that a lot of your posts do have to do with business. Like you can still post a photo of your family and still talk about like a lesson that you learned in your business or how it relates to being who you are. And then like you can also have like different posts, like of course, like selling your product, selling your service. But I think whatever kind of demonstrates what your niches and like what your expertise is, that'll again allow you to connect with your audience. But I don't want us to forget like that element of being human, of extending grace to others, of feeling, because definitely like stories allow us to connect. But like if it's too robotic or if it's too like stiff, then it's going to be hard for you to connect. So yeah. All right. So yes, if you have any other questions, or if you even while you're watching the replay, just let me know below and I'll get back to them, Lord willing. Thank you all for joining me today. Bye. Oh, someone said they're watching from Germany. Hi. Yeah, I'm just gonna end it here. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.